Today's video broadcast I've called Turning the Attacks of Enemies into Prayers for Victory, and we're going to be reading from Psalm 140, verse 1 through 13, which says, "Rescue me, Lord, from evildoers. Protect me from the violent, who devise evil plans in their hearts, and stir up war every day. They make their tongues sharp as serpents, and poison of vipers is on their lips. Keep me safe, Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Protect me from the violent, who devise ways to trip my feet. The arrogant have laid a snare for me. They have spread out the cords of their nets, and have set their traps for me along the path. I say to the Lord, you are my God. Hear, Lord, my cry for mercy. Sovereign Lord, my strong deliverer. You shield my head in the day of battle. Do not grant the wicked their desires, Lord. Do not let their plans succeed. Those who surround me proudly rear their heads. May the mischief of their lips engulf them. May burning coals fall on them. May they be thrown into the fire, into miry pits, never to rise. May slanderers not be established in the land. May the disaster hunt them down the violent. I know the Lord secures justice for the poor and upholds the cause of the needy. Surely the righteous will praise your name, and the upright will live in your presence." That is Psalm 140, 1 through 13. And so what we see here going on is these people the psalmist is contending with are, quote, evildoers. And the characteristics of them are they're violent, they devise evil plans, they stir up war every day. These people are just out for trouble. We often think of violence as merely just physical, but we see here, yet these wicked people the psalmist speaks of also are violent in their speech and how they conduct themselves and what they do, how they set up traps with their words. Their words are violence. It says in the Proverbs that the words of the wicked lie in wait for blood. And so when we think of violence, we're oftentimes tempted to think of just physical violence, but violence can be any form of ill that is done, whether through words or actions. And so we see that here. They make their tongues as sharp as serpents. The poison of vipers is on their lips. And what also? They scheme and devise ways to trip my feet. And behold, this is often true of wicked people. In Proverbs chapter 4, verse 14 through 17, it says, "Do not set foot on the path of the wicked or walk in the way of evildoers. Avoid it, do not travel on it. Turn from it and go your way, for they cannot rest until they do evil. They are robbed of sleep until they make someone stumble. They eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence." And to the sinner, that is Proverbs 14 through 17. "And to the sinner they feed themselves on sin, and the beverage they like to drink from is violence," it says. The psalmist says his attackers are also arrogant, and who have hidden a snare for me. That's what the psalmist says. The psalmist, though, turns to the Lord, and he prays for protection. And Jesus also taught us that we also ought to pray for protection. "Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one." And ultimately, ultimately the traps of the wicked are inspired by the evil one, as we see. And we have to deal with various enemies throughout the Christian life. And one of them is the world, the ungodly people, and the system that surrounds us. Another is Satan himself, the tempter, the accuser, the deceiver, among many other names he is known by. But he is always trying to, as Jesus said, steal, kill, and destroy. So we can see a lot about the character of the devil. He's out to steal, kill, and destroy. And, those who follow in the devil's ways also do the same. They are out to steal, kill, and destroy. They do their father's work, the devil. Jesus said, "You are of your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires." Jesus said that to the people he was disputing with. But, as children of Christ, children of God through Jesus Christ, we are called to live our lives a totally different way. And we see, thirdly, we also must be on guard against the sins that would try to rise up against us in our own heart. We have to deal with sin, the struggle with sin also. We have to choose to put to death the deeds of the flesh and choose to walk in this newness of life God has called us to live through Jesus Christ. And that is how we show ourselves to be children of God, is by doing what pleases God, not doing the things that would please the devil. Because the devil is out to steal, kill, and destroy, and cause havoc, and cause us to sin. We don't want to live our lives for sin. We want to live our lives doing the right things, living for Jesus Christ, and doing His will. For it says, for Jesus even said this, He said, for whoever does the will of my Father in heaven, these are my mothers, brothers, sisters, and family. He's saying, to do the will of God, that makes us the children of God. So, the psalmist does the right thing, though, as we see. He pours out his heart to the Lord in prayer. We see the psalmist find strength through seeking his Lord and his God. We too must also, in times of trouble, turn our troubles into prayers and seek the Lord for His strength, His guidance, His wisdom. In one of the Psalms, it says, for the Lord, something like, your commands make me smarter than my enemies, or wiser than my enemies. And so through seeking the Lord's wisdom, we can learn how to spot traps and tricks, and we can be wiser than our enemies through walking in the wisdom of the Lord and seeking His wisdom. And so in conclusion, we see, though, the final fate of the wicked. May burning coals fall on them. May they be thrown into the fire, into the miry pits, never to rise. May the slanderer not be established in the land. May disaster hunt down the violent. And we see this will ultimately happen when Jesus Christ comes back and He executes judgment on those who have rejected His message and chosen to follow evil. Romans says, for there will be distress and trouble for everyone who does evil. That's in Romans 2, I believe it is, where there will be trouble and distress for all who do evil. But, if we do good and if we commit ourselves to doing good, we will reap a harvest, and we will show ourselves to be true disciples of Jesus Christ, and we will inherit the eternal kingdom that He has promised to those who love Him. So, and it says, in accordance to that, it says, but for those who love God and are true to Him, we see the blessing that will come. The Lord secures justice for the poor and upholds the cause of the needy. And also, surely the righteous will praise your name, and the upright will live in your presence. As the psalm concludes. So if we want to live forever in the presence of the Lord Jesus Christ, we will, by faith, choose to live His righteous way and follow what pleases Him. And then we will live in His presence. God bless.